Greenland looks like the edge of the world. A vast island of ice, silence and snow, home to fewer people than a small town. And yet, behind this frozen landscape, lies one of the most intense geopolitical power struggles of the 21st century. World leaders argue over it. Military planners obsess over it. Superpowers quietly maneuver around it. So how did this remote Arctic land become so important that countries openly discuss controlling it? To understand that, we need to go back, not years, but centuries. Part 1: Greenland before the world wanted it. Long before global powers cared about Greenland, it was already home. For over 4,500 years, Arctic peoples lived here, ancestors of today's Inuit Greenlanders. These were not isolated tribes frozen in time. They were skilled navigators of one of the harshest environments on Earth, with trade networks, culture, and technology adapted perfectly to Arctic life. This matters because Greenland was never empty land. It was not discovered. It was inhabited. That fact sits at the heart of today's debates over sovereignty and self-determination. Part 2: The First Foreign Claim, Vikings and Empire. Around the year 985, Norse settlers led by Eric the Red arrived from Iceland and established colonies along Greenland's southern coast. These Viking settlements survived for centuries until they mysteriously vanished. But their legacy didn't disappear. Centuries later, Denmark used the existence of these medieval Norse colonies as a legal foundation to claim Greenland as part of its kingdom. Over time, Greenland became a Danish colony, ruled from Copenhagen. For Greenlanders, this meant no political voice, limited contact with the outside world, a paternal system that treated them as subjects, not citizens. This colonial relationship would last well into the 20th century. Part 3: World War II, the moment Greenland's fate changed. Everything changed in 1940. Nazi Germany invaded Denmark, cutting it off from Greenland overnight. Suddenly, Greenland was undefended and dangerously exposed in the middle of the North Atlantic. The United States stepped in. With approval from Greenland's local authorities, the US assumed responsibility for defending the island. American forces built airstrips, weather stations, and military infrastructure across Greenland. This was the first time the world truly realized something crucial. Greenland wasn't remote. It was central. Whoever controlled Greenland controlled the shortest routes between North America and Europe. Part 4: The Cold War turns Greenland into a frontline. After World War II, the Cold War turned Greenland into a strategic obsession. The shortest path for Soviet bombers or American missiles ran straight over the Arctic, and Greenland sat right in the middle. In 1951, Denmark and the United States signed a defense agreement allowing permanent US military presence on the island. The most important result was Thule Air Base in northwest Greenland. Thule became a core part of America's early warning radar system, a key node in nuclear defense planning, a critical asset in NATO's Arctic strategy. Greenland, with almost no say of its own, was now embedded in nuclear war planning. Part 5: Secrets, Accidents, and Growing Anger. This militarization came with dark consequences. In 1968, a US B-52 bomber carrying nuclear weapons crashed near Thule, scattering radioactive material across the ice. The incident was hidden for years. Greenlanders were not informed. They were not consulted. They were expected to accept the risk, silently. This event became a turning point. It planted deep mistrust toward both Denmark and the United States and strengthened calls for political autonomy. Part 6: From Colony to Self-Rule. By the late 20th century, decolonization movements reached Greenland. In 1979, Greenland gained home rule. In 2009, it achieved self-rule. This was historic. Greenlanders were officially recognized as a people with the right to self-determination under international law. But there was a catch. Denmark still controlled foreign policy, defense, Large portions of Greenland's economy. Greenland received substantial annual subsidies from Denmark, money that kept the system running but also limited true independence. Greenland was free in principle, but dependent in practice. Part 7. Climate change brings the world back. In the 21st century, three forces collided, and Greenland was suddenly back in the spotlight. First, climate change. Melting ice opened new Arctic shipping routes and exposed land once buried for millennia. Second, resources. Greenland holds rare earth elements and critical minerals essential for clean energy, defense systems, and high-tech manufacturing. Third, great power rivalry. The United States, China, and Russia all intensified their Arctic strategies. Greenland was no longer just strategic, it was economically tempting. Part 8. China, Russia, and the new Arctic race. China sought mining projects and infrastructure investments. Russia expanded its Arctic military footprint. The United States watched both with growing concern. For Washington, Greenland wasn't just about resources, it was about preventing rivals from gaining influence in a critical region. And that concern eventually spilled into public view. Part 9. Greenland is not for sale. When US leaders openly discussed acquiring Greenland in the modern era, the world reacted with shock. Denmark rejected the idea outright. Greenland's government responded firmly, Greenland is not for sale. European allies warned that such rhetoric threatened international law and NATO unity. What made the situation explosive wasn't just the idea itself, but the implication that strategic power might override self-determination. For Greenlanders, it felt hauntingly familiar. Once again, global powers were talking about Greenland, without Greenland at the center. Part 10. A small nation in a big power game. Today, Greenland stands at a crossroads. Most Greenlandic political parties support eventual independence, but disagree on timing. Economic self-sufficiency remains a challenge. Foreign interest keeps growing. Greenland wants respect, partnership, control over its own future. Not to be a bargaining chip between superpowers. Closing, why Greenland matters to the world. Greenland's story is not just about ice or minerals. It's about indigenous rights, sovereignty in a changing world, how climate change reshapes geopolitics, and whether powerful nations can still redraw boundaries in the modern era. This frozen island is testing the rules of the global order. And the question remains, will Greenland finally control its own destiny, or will history repeat itself beneath the ice? Subscribe to this channel to always stay updated.